Okay, today we're going to be talking about making some of the props for this movie we got going, Dark Domain, using some everyday household items. These, as you probably well know, the underarm roll-ons. Obviously when they're done, normally people throw them away. However, we can recycle them and turn them into a bit of movie magic. So here we have a couple of hacksaws, selection really, just to show really the types of tools that we'll be using to do the first part, which is obviously to separate this top bit from the bottom bit, so you end up with something like that. So, and not only that, but we'll have some use for these as well, which I'll show you in a little bit. Okay, cool. So away we go. Okay, right, well, we've got these anyway. What we're also going to need is a little bit of newspaper. This is a very old paper, because when we're using these, it's going to make a little bit of mess. So if you're doing it inside, the easiest thing is just to put some paper down on it. So I will just stick this here, and I get one of these. Obviously, that's what I did earlier, and there's a right way to do this and I think probably a wrong way. So we'll try and start. Now obviously I've got the small blade here, and you see this little seam here is just a nice guide for you, especially on this type. So we'll just start it here, and the thing is to go nice and slow at the beginning, because you just want to mark it really. The straighter you make this line, the better your cut is going to be overall, and it just makes it a lot easier. You could use a vice and a bench if you wanted, but because we're not applying that much force to it, it's not really going to slip or anything like that. So obviously I'm not pressing too hard, because I just want to make a straight line, a groove in there, just to mark it really. And then I realise obviously it's a lot better with this one here. Probably going to knock them over in a minute. That cutting. But again, just take it nice and slow, because especially if you're holding it, you don't want to cut yourself. And not only that, it will move. I'm going to tend to move these things now, because they're just going to get in the way, and then I can get through this a lot quicker. Yes. The thing is, you'll hear it start to change anyway once you get through. But just take it nice and slow. Hear it? Right, it's gone through now. So now, this is the easy bit. Cuts a lot quicker. Make sure you keep your eye on it, what you're cutting. Now, you get to a point where you're probably going to start cutting into the floor, unless you've got it on a bench, on an overhang. What you can do is twist it slightly, so that you're cutting a new part. You see, you can twist it like that. So then, you're using still the same edge as the guide, without, some people might turn it completely over and do it from the other side. It's up to you really. However, you're going to sand it anyway afterwards, so nearly there. Alright. You might end up with something a little bit like that. It doesn't really matter, does it? Because, like I said, we're going to sand that bit. Unless you're going to use the other part for something, But still, be careful. As you can see, it's quite easy, so we can do that again for the other ones. Yep. And that will be the eye. So yeah, we have these separated pieces, and then these pieces that's left over. So from that, if you're careful, you'll end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 2 pairs of eyes, and then these, which I'm not sure what we'll turn these into. I don't know yet. Look, kind of like some kind of handle for something. I don't know. If not, might just go in the bin, but you know, might be able to do something useful with them. And then obviously we've got these two for them, which hopefully I can turn into like a prop grenade, you know, once it's stuck together. Should look quite grenade-like. Yeah. So, you know, let's try it. Okay, as you can see, I've can you see that? I filed it a little bit, so it's a little bit smooth, but I mean, it doesn't matter if it's not 100% perfect. The main thing is just so it's, you know, easier to touch and work with. And I used a flat file. Could have used sandpaper. I mean, if you haven't got a file, you can use sandpaper. Just wanted to take some of the edges off. You know, you have to hold it at an angle. But you know, failing that, you can use sandpaper wrapped around a wooden block, or you know, anything that's hard, as it were. Or you can even put the sandpaper on the floor and do that. That would probably be the easiest, I think. You know, you can do that anyway. You just need the sandpaper, or even off stone floor, I suppose, if you haven't got any money for sandpaper. Yeah. So, and something else I wanted to talk about. You see that seam there? Yeah. Now, obviously, what we can do, you see the natural colour of it anyway, is kind of similar to the colour of an eye anyway. So, if you can line that up a certain way, because there's also a bubble in it. Don't know if you can see, not on that side. Some of them have got bubbles. There's one with a bubble in it. He says no, there's no bubbles. Yeah, but basically, some of them have bubbles, some of them don't. But they'll always have that seam, and it's probably not a good thing to have the seam going right across the middle of the eye, unless you want that. So if you lined that seam up with the seam around here, then technically speaking, the most amount of eye movement that you'd be getting going on would at least hide most of that seam in the corners of the eye when the eye is finished. It'll all make sense later on. Obviously, we're going to drill a diagonal hole here, with which we can then attach the animatronics, and that will basically pull the eye. If the mechanism moves up, it'll pull the eye. Well, it'll push the lever down, so the eye would then be forced to look up, if that makes sense. And then down, it would look down, but it'd also be looking left and right as well. So it'll all make sense later on. Okay, so next thing you want to do, obviously, you wash them thoroughly. You know, get rid of any remaining residue. And then you want to line up, like I say, that seal as close as you can with the edge. And the thing about it is, these things float, so they wobble about quite a bit. So what you'll have to do is, once you've lined it up, put your finger on the inside, you know, and hold it in place. And then mark with a permanent marker the center point. Yeah. Then what you're going to do, obviously, is make a little cross. And then you're going to do like little Kermit the Frog kind of thing going on here. But the reason obviously we've done it like that is obviously so we can still see where the centre line is. Because once you draw a line over a dot, it's going to be very difficult to work where that centre is, and you might lose the whole point of hiding the seam. So you make the cross there just so you can see the centre, and then you know to make the other side the same length. Now this is going to be fitted diagonally, and obviously at this time it doesn't really matter because it floats freely within this whole mechanism. Yeah, so anyway, talking a bit of crap earlier. But you need to drill a hole. The principle was right, it's just on the wrong side I was talking. You need to drill a hole in the middle of the eye. Okay, and then what you're going to do is attach this little doohickey, which is just basically a normal screw, with one of these acting as like a washer. Okay, these raw plugs. Okay, I'm gonna probably file that down to make it a bit smoother, because that's gonna actually work through the lever that'll be shaped like this, and as it moves up and down it actually creates a side to side movement, which creates the appearance of the eyes moving left and right. So yeah, that's what you need to do next. Okay, so when you finish and paint them up a bit, you should end up with something looking a bit like this. Yeah, so that's the eyes. Next I'll be rigging up the mechanisms. Yeah. Okay, last piece now really. Just keep it all simple. So there's the eye. Just got one of those little one of these, you see packs of googly eyes. Just got the sock puppets or whatever. But if you cut the plastic off very carefully here, then you get a nice little lens shape. That'll work quite well on your eyeball. Paint it up. Give it that kind of Walking Dead look. Now I'm going to paint some a bit more like, you know, the red veins in the eyes and things like that when I finish, but just to show you where we're up to. And then the bottom of a milk container, which is cut in two and then glued together just to make it a bit stiffer, and then you just drill through it like that. And then basically, here's one I made earlier. You attach it to the base like that, so then when you attach the head to something, you're going to have that side to side movement, you know. It's just a simple kind of controller mechanism at the moment. It just works on a pivot, but eventually we might put something else like electronics or whatever in there. But this is just a cheap, homemade, recycling way to make some of your own props. Hope you enjoy it.